January 11. Reporting out from closed session. The only thing we can report is that we voted unanimously to enter a contract with Coleman Engineering, who will work to upgrade our water plant in terms of standard operating procedures, training up employees, and that will begin very shortly. So that's the only thing I can report from closed session. So at this point, we will start with approval of the agenda. Do we have any substantive changes that we wish to make to the agenda, short agenda tonight? All right, seeing none, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a first and a second. As we've done in the past, let's see, is Mr. Adams on? Yes. Let's just do this for these more. No, we need to do a roll call vote. Sorry about that, Gabe. So if you can do a roll call vote for all agenda items, that would be great.
Yes, sir. So we got an approval of the agenda. Motion. Can you tell me who made the motion?
Yeah, David.
Grover.
First Grover, second West.
West. We got a motion and a second, Grover West, to approve the agenda as submitted, starting with council member. Let's go with Grover.
Yes.
Councilmember West.
Yes.
Council member Kelly.
Yes.
And Mayor Ladwig.
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Our next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes, but we do not have the minutes, so apologize for that. Due to various factors, we'll delay the approval of those minutes until our February meeting. At this point, we will move on to council reports and committee assignments.
Yeah, and just a note, did we want to do the pledge?
Thank you very much. Yes, everyone stand, please, and face the appropriate direction. All right. Thank you, Eli. All right. So actually, I can, we'll move on to, we're a little out of sequence. So right before the meeting opened, we opened in an open session and we swore in our newest member of the city council, Ms. Cheryl Kelly. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows that Cheryl is now officially in the capacity of counselor. So welcome to the council, Ms. Kelly. Thank you very much for joining us. Yes, I just want to make sure that everybody knows that actually Ms. Kelly is here under a formal capacity. She swore in and she read the oath admirably, I must say. So, all right. Moving on to council reports and or committee assignments. I imagine with the winter break, there may not be much, but I'll still go around the room to first Mr. Grover. Any council report or committee assignment that you want to update us on?
No, we did do our last one for Redwood Coast Energy Authority, which I enjoy being part of. But regarding the council and my position, the woman who owns the house where I live passed on the day after Christmas. So I'm not going to be living in Trinidad in a few months from now. I will keep people in contact and trying to find a replacement for myself too. But I think the sooner the better, because there is a budget coming up, and I mean, there's just always stuff going on. So the sooner somebody can get acquainted with the issues, the better it is for the city, from my perspective. But it's been great serving here, and I'm here now, and if I can get somebody next month, I certainly will keep everyone aware of my position. But thank you.
Wow. Well, thanks for letting us know and giving us ample time to consider. And this is definitely a call, and all of us really can start talking to folks to find a replacement. David, sorry to hear that you may have to leave us sooner than later.
I will be part of the Green Party locally. I'm going to be living in Arcata, and there is issues that do actually affect the city. So if people care about policy at the regional level too, I still will be involved in policy and stuff like that. So.
All right. Mr. West, anything to report from your committee assignments or from your council perspective?
We'll just say I'm sorry, David, to see you leaving us. You've done a good job. I have no other comment. I have nothing else. No meetings this month, so I'll be HCOG will be back on next month. I'll give you a report next month.
All right. I too had no meetings since our last council meeting, but Humboldt Transit Authority will resume, as will the economic development. So, and I do want to shout out to, if anyone reads the senior news, there was a great article really recognizing a couple of our residents, Dorothy and Mary, who very selflessly keep Trinidad beautiful, picking up trash, just general, I don't know, I just want to make sure that we recognize the folks in our community that really make it what it is. And so definitely seek out the senior news so that you can see that nice article on Mary and Dorothy. So Cheryl, we will provide time for you later to join some of these extracurricular activities with the council. So at this point, we will switch over to our staff report with Eli.
Okay, and we also have for law enforcement, so I'm going to turn it over to Lieutenant Kevin Miller, who I believe is on the phone.
He is.
So I'll turn it over to him.
Great. Thank you, Eli. Good evening, everybody. I will just go over some of our stats here. I'm going to apologize because I do not have my video on tonight. I'm working from my patrol car and it's dark out, and I can turn on my red light and show you, but it's just kind of eerie. So I just get to hear my voice this evening. So my apologies. My two statisticians who usually pull up my stats are both out sick right now also. So the report out that I have tonight is slightly different than what I normally would be reporting out on. So bear with me. So for the months of November and December of last year, I was able to identify calls that are specifically related to the city of Trinidad itself and or just outside the city limits. And it appears that we conducted about 120 random patrol checks at Trinidad between those 2 months. All these stats are over a 2-month period, and I'm sorry I don't have them broke down to tell you if it was November or December. However, 120 plus patrol checks in Trinidad during those 2 months. We had 19 animal problems. Again, I don't have the addresses for these, but I would imagine most of those are probably just outside the city limits themselves. Conducted 17 welfare checks, 9 unwanted subject calls, 7 public assists, 6 disturbances, 4 beach patrols. We had 4 child welfare services referrals, 4 probation checks, 4 trespassing, and we had 3 vehicle abatements. And then just going through the rest of the list here, 2 parking violations, 2 petty thefts, 2 suspicious circumstances calls, 1 noise complaint, 1 911 miscellaneous call. So that was probably actually nothing. Again, I apologize. It's not normally how I would report out on this. 1 death investigation, and one DUI enforcement, and that's pretty much it. You guys have probably also noticed here recently some of our a little increased activity down by the state beach down there. Perhaps our command post down there and our boats around. That's just in our efforts to search for the missing canoeist in and around the Trinidad area there. So if you see an increase in vehicles or sheriff's vehicles with boats attached to them, or command post going through town and down to the state beach, that's what that's about. So we have not located that person yet. So the investigation and the search into that is continuing and ongoing. So that is my report out tonight.
Thank you, Lieutenant Miller. Any questions, comments for Lieutenant Miller?
I
Jack?
just have a quick one. Thanks a lot for what you're doing. It's so nice to get reports on a monthly basis. I really appreciate it. What
Yes.
does TPAT mean as a type?
TPAT? Oh, Trinidad Patrol.
Oh, that's
So
all.
that's the code. That's the code that we type into our system to indicate a patrol.
Okay, that's what I want to know. Thank you.
Yep. You almost
Any
had me
other-
on that one for a second.
Any other questions or comments for Lieutenant Miller from the council or from the general public? All right. Thank you very much, Lieutenant Miller, for giving us your time, especially since you're actively on patrol.
Yeah, you're welcome. I also just want to note for the council's knowledge, and I've already talked to Eli about this, but with the sheriff's office, we're down two of our commanders, two of our lieutenants' positions. So additional responsibilities have been split up amongst all of the other lieutenants that are still working. So you'll note that I was not here at last month's meeting because I now have taken on the responsibility of being in charge of our search and rescue crew. And they have monthly meetings also, just as Trinidad does, and they just happen to be on the same evening. So I am going to have to split my time between Trinidad and our sheriff search and rescue team. However, if there are any important topics that you need me to show up and address, and it's a month that I'm going to be with the posse, please just let me know, or you can go through Eli. Eli and I talk all the time, so he can let me know and I'll make an appearance for you. Okay. If not, it'll be pretty much every other month for you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Eli, can you give us your city manager's report?
Yes, certainly. Can you hear me okay, or do you need the volume louder?
You sound good to me.
Okay, great. So first of all, an update on the Verizon tower at Trinidad Head, and also the fact of the new tower that's been under construction in West Haven. So the in-service forecast for the Verizon replacement site has been pushed to the end of January per Verizon. That's the West Haven site. There was a delay in delivery of fiber to the site, and the construction team should be able to be on track, and we will give you an update in February. We've also indicated to them, and also I would like to indicate to all the Verizon users in our community to keep me and keep City Hall up to date as to how your reception is, because we want to make sure that the reception continues to be a decent reception in the city. And if there's any problems, let us know so we could report it to them immediately. As far as the typed city manager's report, I did indicate that there's a new food composting law that the state has that took effect January 1st. The city, along with the other cities in the county and the county itself, are participating with a firm called Edgar and Associates to have us all in compliance with this new food composting law. But in the meantime, the rule would like to see residents separate their organic material, such as food waste and ground coffee beans, from the material waste that they have. In addition to that, I do indicate about the parks per capita grant that we're pursuing, and we're looking at the possibility of having a Vista Point to be included as part of that. And I also had indicated in there about the city managers conference. It's the beginning of February, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And I will be attending that, and then I'll report on some of the sessions afterwards when I do come back in February. And then the business license renewals, the applications are due January 15th, and the STR renewal applications are due now also. And we'll give you further updates on those. And I'll entertain any questions or comments that people may have regarding the report.
Any questions, comments for Eli from the council or the general public? All right, thank you very much for the report. And moving on to items from the floor. At this time, members of the public may comment on items not appearing on the agenda. Individual comments will be limited to 3 minutes or less. Comments should be directed to the council as a whole and not to individual council members or staff. Council and staff responses will be minimal for non-agenda items. At this point, opening it up to items from the floor, and I see Paula Levine.
I posted this in public comments, but it was after 4 today, so you probably didn't have a chance to read it. It's not a very long letter, so I'll go ahead and read it. Happy New Year, everyone. May peace reign in politics near and far. Since the council is committed to focusing on water issues and spring is around the corner, time flies, the following action is recommended. Number 1, an itemized monthly update and accounting by PWA to include time spent, at what cost, and any progress related to their feasibility work order. Question: are pending Trinidad contracts posted in city documents in a timely fashion for public review? If not, it would be a good idea if they were, so the public could offer advice to the council as well as the city attorney. 2, if there's any progress on grants or any other water-related business, please include updates at every council meeting or include the statement, quote, no progress on water-related issues. Thank you all for your volunteer efforts. Mill Creek water customer.
Thank you, Paula.
You're welcome.
Other items from the floor. And I do want to reiterate the usefulness of the hand raising feature because it puts you right in the corner where my eye goes to see who wants to talk. Any other comments? All right, moving on then to our consent agenda. Let me again read this. All matters on the consent agenda are considered routine by the City Council and enacted in one motion. There is no separate discussion of any of these items. If discussion is requested by any council member, that item is removed from the consent calendar and considered separately. A single opportunity for public comment on the consent is available. At this point, David.
I'd like number 4 pulled.
Okay. We will pull number 4 and cover it as our first discussion agenda item. Any other public comment on the consent agenda? Okay, bringing it back to council, we need if you don't mind, David, making a motion regarding the consent agenda with your pulling of number 4.
I will make a motion that we accept the consent agenda less number 4 to be added to the discussion items.
Second that.
All right, we have a first from Grover, a second. Gabe, if you don't mind doing a roll call vote, that would be great.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. So We got a first by Councilmember Grover, a second by Councilmember West to approve the consent agenda, polling item number 4, starting with Councilmember Grover,
Aye.
West,
Yes.
Kelly,
Aye.
and Ladwig.
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Now moving on to our discussion action agenda items number 4 from the consent. We'll cover that one first. Adopt revised local road safety plan. David, if you could please share with the council and the public why you wish to pull that item to discussion.
Yeah, so I was going to ask Trevor, well, it looks like she's here. I wondered if there was or GHD. I don't think Steve's still here, but I just wondered on the consideration. I didn't see as the itemized possibilities for a sidewalk on Edwards Street too, because it was a safety issue that of my own living here and by constituents also that live on the road. And there was like the proper amount of frontage. And I have talked to both engineers at GHD at different times on it. So I just wondered if it wasn't listed or if it could be listed. Just make sure it's talked about at least. It was pretty...
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I was not involved in that road plan, so I don't know what discussions took place or, why the projects that are in there were selected.
Okay, so I'm just basically putting it out here now in the public venue then, because it could be a continuation of the one that already exists, and there's definitely the frontage for it, and it would just, it could alleviate a lot of problems in some of the other parts of the city that we're dealing with issues with, even cultural issues. So
and we do have Catherine, who was involved in the preparation of the report.
Okay.
She's with GHD. So Mayor, if you would like to turn it over to her.
Please, yeah.
Hi, Councilmember Grover. Yes, we could add that to the plan. The reason I think is previously there was a design to put the sidewalk there. It didn't move forward and there were some issues. Sidewalk isn't typically fundable through HSIP, and that's the program this is feeding in, but ATP is what funds the sidewalk. But I'm happy to add that as an improvement and identify that in the plan.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it was something that was already identified previously. It just didn't move forward.
Okay, great.
And I do want to note that previously we did have an Edwards Street Caltrans project where we talked about having the sidewalk on Edwards on the south side of the street, and that was turned down. However, Councilmember Grover is suggesting that that be looked into on the north side of Edwards.
Understood.
All right. Any other questions, comments regarding this item? Ms. Kelly.
Since we opened this up, Catherine, I just had a quick question of whether speed bumps were ever considered on any of the streets, or are they? I've heard mixed things. They can be good for slowing traffic. They can be bad. I just wondered if that was also under consideration.
Councilmember Kelly, so traffic calming isn't typically fundable through these grant programs. It's more of a policy through the agency. So I don't know if the city of Trinidad has a traffic calming policy, but that's what we would refer to with speed humps or speed tables. Again, they can be good at slowing traffic, but then you have to coordinate with your emergency responders because it can also impede their access. So, but speed management is an important thing in safety. And if there was a policy the city had, I'd be happy to include it in the plan.
Okay, thank you. And then it's a little bit of a two-parter question, but the second part is more procedural. So I think it might be for Steve or excuse me, Mayor Ladwig or Eli. Will this plan be coming back to the city council for final approval before we do anything? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's a really good point to make, is that, this is continuing to move the plan in a direction, but all actions taken by the council will go through the council.
Excellent.
For sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, so basically, any particular project that would involve anything that's on this list would be coming back to the council for approval.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other further discussion on this item? So since it was in the consent agenda, we do need a motion to act on adopting the revised local road safety plan.
We'll move that we adopt the revised local road safety plan.
And I'll second it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Adams?
Yeah, we got a motion by Councilmember West, seconded by Grover to adopt the local road safety plan. We'll go with Councilmember Grover.
Aye.
West,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
and Ladwig.
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you again. Moving on to our first item here, just to, again, to officially welcome Ms. Kelly. I don't know if you want to say anything to address the group. I mean, you don't need to convince us because we've already brought you in, but if you want to share some thoughts, just so everybody knows, you spent some time on the running or directing the Planning Commission. How long were you on the Planning Commission?
Yeah, I think I've been on the planning commission for 3 years.
3
Trevor
years,
can
okay.
correct me if I'm wrong. And I've been the chair for the last 2 years, maybe, or 18 months. I should know this off the top of my head, but it's been a great experience. We've been working on the general plan. We're going to be talking about one of the elements of the general plan tonight. I'm excited that I'm going to be able to be on the city council as those pieces come to the city council. And of course, I'm always excited to serve the community, and thank you for the opportunity.
Well, it's nice to have you. I look at the council packet, and it looks like you've been appointed to this thing many times through, it looks like all of your information from your planning commission, we could have just moved it over, but we just had you go through it again. So again, thank you very much for your participation. And at this point, we'll move it on to item number 2, which is continued discussion regarding the general plan update, with the conservation element being the focus of this evening. So I see Ms. Parker has put her camera back on and is ready to introduce this topic.
Thank you. Yeah, so similar to last month, I have provided you a current clean copy of the conservation element of the general plan, as well as a couple messy looking versions with Coastal Commission comments, responses, and edits. The edits vary from, responding to the Coastal Commission comments and incorporating their suggestions, as well as incorporating new information and input from the Planning Commission as well. So this has gone through the Planning Commission, been discussed at several meetings, although it hasn't yet been recommended to the council yet. There's still a few loose ends, primarily having to do with trails and figures on this one. But it's at this point ready to go back to the Coastal Commission to see if they feel that their comments have been adequately addressed. I did provide you the 2018 figures, and I apologize, in the memo and the staff report, it lists them as the land use figures, but they are the conservation element figures, which are currently being updated. I did meet with our GIS person today, and we've got the city limits finalized, and so we can get all the rest of those figures updated. So I will get those to you as soon as they are ready. And other than that, I am happy to take comments, questions, suggestions.
And I do want to also let folks know that that Cheryl is, again, having just come from the Planning Commission. I just want to provide you an opportunity maybe to share some of your insight from the time on the commission with the council and the general public regarding this element.
So I think the conservation, open space, and recreation element is like most of the elements in the general plan, critically important because of where we live. And so it's important. I think the commission spent quite a lot of time on it. The city council, of course, has delegated the development of the general plan to the planning commission. So I'm not sure, and I think it's up for discussion, how deep the city council wants to go on each of these elements, or do you want to have a general kind of look at it and see if anything jumps out? There's trails are addressed in here. Trevor and I exchanged some email about that today, and she reminded me that trails are in here, and that can often be kind of an interesting topic. It might be worth having the trails committee take a quick pass and look at this. But in some ways, this is also kind of the least, I wouldn't say it's the most controversial element. Let's put it that way, right?
Okay.
So I think it'd be great for everybody to read through it, at least at a high level, and give feedback and comment.
Okay, thank you for that. So at this point, I'm going to open it up to the council. If there are any, through your readings, if you left yourself scribbled any notes in the margins, that kind of thing, just to make sure that we're starting from that, so you can get maybe small questions answered or comments. So I'm going to open it up to the council at this point. Jack?
Yeah, I'll be glad to start. First, it's a lot of reading. I'm really impressed if you guys could put all this together. I went through it and just got a little lost, but it's really nice. I like what it said. It really opened my eyes, and I think it's overall great. I had a few questions. One is just one of the things it seems that we're trying to do is make sure we have tribal interests involved in all this. I didn't see a lot of that in this. I didn't know if we actually put enough about our local tribe and how we would work with them in this conservation element, or if we needed to. So I'm just curious what you think about the tribal interests.
Yeah, good question. We do have a cultural and historic resources element that will be a separate element. We need to restart our tribal consultation, both at a informal staff level at this point, and then more formal later as we get things more finalized. But yes, I think that bringing some of those, we do cross-reference a lot of policies in the general plan, and once we have all the elements more put together, we will make sure that there are cultural conservation issues that maybe should be in the concert policies that should be in both elements, and so we can take a look at that a little bit down the road, or if there's a specific policy that someone has a suggestion for adding, we can do that now.
I didn't have an actual, I wasn't sure where to place things. It just seemed like that might be something that would be, just working with them on responsibilities for both of us in terms of how we take care of our conservation. So I didn't have a specifics, just thought I was surprised to find very little. So I'll just leave that out there if you find that interesting. A second thing just kind of confused me. It's a real simple one. It's on page 30. It's CONS 8.3. And it said something about preserving Trinidad Bay and the bay bordering Trinidad to the west. And I was curious what that was.
I'm guessing that's probably referring to the ASBS, which is a big rectangle that includes not just the Trinidad Bay to the south, but it actually extends off to Flatiron Rock and off to the west. And so that's the Trinidad Head ASBS. So I'm guessing that's probably what that is referring to. I can scroll through.
Unfortunately, what I have is hard to find it, but I know it's on page 30 and just the reading I did. And I didn't read the final copy, only the one that had all the extra information in it. So that may be very confusing.
Okay, I will take a look at that and see if it could use some clarification.
Thank you. The other one on the next page was how to do with Trinidad Elementary School and public access. So I called the superintendent of the school and I asked, what about public access for the city to use the school I just wasn't sure after what I've read about some of the schools in terms of them closing things down and putting and fencing things off because of concerns about having the school open all the time. So she's going to look into if the school does have total public access that the city can use. I asked her if she knew, and she wasn't sure. I talked to the school board president, which is easy to talk to since he's in the house with me. And she said, yeah, it's okay. But I asked the superintendent if she would just look that up and get back to us if that's going to open up again, because it's been closed due to COVID. And I think a lot of schools are considering leaving them closed because of insurance problems and also for keeping safety because of damages to schools. So I have no idea, but I thought that should come back to you. So that should come back later. And I think that those were the only things that I had to add. I just thought it was a fantastic document, very interesting, and really looked like something we could pay attention to. It does look like it's going to put the city in a position of having a lot to do because it asks for a lot in that thing. So I hope Eli is ready to go after this like crazy.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other comments? David, I thought I saw your microphone turn off. Are you making comments?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Okay, let me, I don't have any comments. I find this to be a very useful exercise to see all the changes and whatnot. So, and having the extra time to review it was also very much appreciated. So Trevor, my hat's off to you on making sure that that was available to us. At this point, I would like to open it up to the general public regarding the conservation element. Any comments, questions for us? Go ahead, Ms. Provo.
Good evening. Happy New Year, City
Happy New Year.
Manager, council people. I just want to acknowledge the extreme amount of work done from our Planning Commission on this document, and I look forward to looking at it more closely. I do like the crossouts, the red and the blue, to see the changes. That's very helpful. On page, trying to get my cursor down, thank you. Page 6 under cons A1, it does list a number of stakeholders, including Trinidad Chamber of Commerce, Trinidad Elementary School, BLM, Trinidad Coastal Land Trust, state parks, Trinidad Rancheria, Marine Lab, but it does not list the York Tribe and other tribal entities that might need to have input, especially around conservation efforts. And I think that that would be important to consider. The other thing I didn't look through, Cheryl, you might know if there was any mention to the Trinidad Management Plan, which I know is a document that was well done long time ago around conservation and protection of areas. And I didn't know if that needed to somehow link or at least reference that at certain points. Those are my only 2 comments at this time. Thank you.
Sherry, did you mean the Churai Management Plan or the?
Churai Management
Okay,
Plan.
okay.
Thank
Just
you.
wanted to make sure that, because I also came across the Trinidad Bay Water Plan yesterday with that group. So I just want to make sure we had the right one. So
Yeah, sorry. Thank you for catching that. Yeah, the Churai Management Plan.
Trevor, do you have, or Cheryl, do you have any comment on Ms. Provost's question?
Definitely, that is something we have been, as we've gone through the general plan update, have been keeping that in the back of our mind. It probably fell through the cracks a little bit, but it's been back on the Planning Commission's agenda. And so, yes, we have been working on incorporating the management plan policies where we can into the document. And I believe it's not necessarily a one-to-one correlation, but it might be good at some point to go through the management plan and try and cross-reference where some of those policies come out in the general plan. That might be helpful.
Excellent. Any other questions from the general public or comments? All right, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the council. Well, actually to Trevor, what action would you like from the council tonight?
I don't think you need to take any formal action at this point. Like I said, I'm just looking for input. I think at this point, like Cheryl said, a high level review is probably good. Any glaring red flags? I got a couple of good comments tonight. These are good. The next step will be to send it back to the Coastal Commission to get their review, and then it'll go back to the Planning Commission. And might be good for the Trails Committee to look at this as well. And one thing we've been talking about is public outreach and public input. We've gotten spurts of public input over the years, but we haven't had a lot recently. And I don't know if that's because people are happy with it or because they're kind of, burnt out because we've been talking about the general plan for so long. But I do think that it would be good once we kind of have good drafts of all the elements, or at least most of the elements, to maybe do some kind of public workshop, even outside of a council or planning commission setting, and try and, I don't know whether it's mailings or, some kind of advertising to try and get a little bit more public input before we finalize this. So that might be something that we look to doing later this year when we get things more pulled together.
And Trevor, are you thinking of specifically regarding the conservation element or about the general plan?
I would say the whole thing, because I think, it all should go together into one cohesive document. And so, we have gotten public input here and there on the various elements, but I think it would be good maybe to have a big workshop on the whole thing at some point.
And I agree with you, and I'm happy to really make a concerted effort to try to get as much public comment in sort of a workshop setting. And I think that having it go to the Coastal Commission is really going to help kind of make sure that, because they're the signing, they're going to have a huge part in this. I think the way I'm envisioning this anyway is that once more and more of these elements are off to the Coastal Commission, then we'll be able to read it and kind of incorporate what Jack was talking about this cross-reference and where does this support that element and so on and so forth. Because when you take it out of almost, not really out of context, but just one element at a time, it's hard to keep that whole general plan in your head. So I would recommend at this point that we send this off to the Coastal Commission for their input. If that's the next step, it feels like this thing has been vetted. The Planning Commission has spent a lot of time. Let's get their input and keep moving this. I'm really excited about how many elements we're working on here in the last 6 months. So love to keep that momentum going.
Yeah, and I really like the idea of public workshops to teach people how to read these documents, really, and then they can, the input they put in is much more well informed.
Right. Any other closing comments then regarding this agenda item?
What's next? Hey, Trevor.
So I think the circulation element is probably would be the next one. And I believe it's probably pretty close to being ready to go. I'll have to see whether I can get that all put together for you for the February meeting. And then the other thing is the figures. So I want to get you the figures as soon as those are available as well. Those are important. So either February or March, I'll have circulation element and figures for you to review next.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And then Trevor, the land use element is still, everybody's still reviewing and giving you comments on that one as well, right?
We did the same thing last month with that one. So, I didn't get a lot of specific input, but, certainly if someone thinks of something later, they're welcome to email me their comments or give me a call at any time and ask questions or provide input.
Okay.
Well, thanks again, Trevor, for joining us and for keeping this, like I said, the momentum is palpable at this point. So anything you need from the council, please just don't hesitate to reach out just to help keep this thing moving. But yeah, if we can get these off to the Coastal Commission for their input, and then look to maybe a summer type town hall type meeting to see the whole thing in one discussion. Does that work for you sometime this summer?
Yeah.
Excellent. And again, having a deadline, boy, sure keeps us on point. So it's now in the public record that we want to have the discussion in the summer about the whole general plan. So again, whatever we can do to help facilitate that.
Sounds good.
Right on. Thank you very much. Now we are moving on to item number 3, accepting Councilmember Tom Davey's resignation and authorization to begin recruitment to fill the vacancy through December. So Mr. Davies emailed the council and city manager in late December and informed us of his resignation effective immediately. So he is no longer on the council. It's a big position to fill. Tom brought a lot of focus on process and making sure the city was working in an open format and following process. So at this point, we definitely want to recruit for this position. Gabe, are you able to give us the specifics of how the position works with the term served and all the different rules that follow and what someone would be agreeing to do if they did throw their name in the hat?
Yeah, yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. We've got Tom's Councilmember Davey's term expires December 2022. So we really have rounded the corner on which we're going to be starting an election process probably in April of this year. April, May is when the election kickoff begins for the November election. So we're really just asking for someone to jump in to finish this 1-year term. And even if we wanted to, it would be difficult to, have to trigger a special election, to try to find someone. I think that should be at all costs avoided, because you'd really be paying for a special election simply just for Trinidad if we can't find somebody within an allotted time. And generally, I think that runs about 60 days. But when that happens on a year where there's already an election, I'm going to have to look into this a little bit further to see if that would be a requirement or if we would just run with 4 council members for a while. So we're really just looking for 1 year, barely, to fill. And with the news that Councilmember Grover is also finding his way out of here, that makes me a little nervous as well, because hopefully he'll hang on as long as he can before he submits his letter of resignation. And we'll be doing the same thing for him. His term also expires in 2022 in November. So 1 year, that's all we're looking for.
And so you're saying that we have as a council then the ability to appoint someone who submits a letter of interest without having to go through special election.
Absolutely. That would be the ideal situation. Yes.
So really what we can inform people is you either have a choice of getting started early on your election campaign or filling in with your experience and expertise and knowledge for a short time and don't have to think about a 4-year commitment. Those are the 2 kind of ways to spin this, is what I'm.
You got it. And we're for the vacancy notice that we're gonna publish immediately, we're just putting a soft deadline of February 4th to fill at least Councilmember Davey's seat. But of course, that'll remain open until the council finds someone that they feel is an appropriate appointment for the position.
Excellent.
So we'll just begin that immediately, and hopefully there's somebody out there that wants to give it a shot.
Okay. And just to remind, I know it's a small audience tonight, but we are looking for someone who lives within the city limits.
Within the city limits, and for a council position must be a registered voter within the city limits. There are no other specific requirements that the council has ever placed on it. Those are the two biggies.
Yeah.
The Planning Commission, just as we're already talking, we're kind of throwing out there this recruitment process. I'll also be looking to fill a seat on the Planning Commission as well, with Miss Kelly joining the ranks of the City Council. So that'll be coming up probably on the next agenda we have in February. Maybe I'll give you an update, but we're going to start the process to recruit for that position as well at the same time we're doing the council.
Okay. Jack, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, a couple of things. One is for those people who are here, please get the word out. Right now, we're at a kind of a, not critical, but we have a lot of good things going on. This is kind of an exciting time to be on the council. So people need to know that there's a lot of interesting things going on. So it's, there's with the possibility of land changes and all these elements coming up. It's really a great time. So please get the word out that we can use good people, and I'm hoping we'll get people that want to stay on there and take part in this. The other thing is, and I think I can go this way, even though this is about Tom. I'm just curious, when does Dave? If Dave moves, when he moves, is he absolutely off the council at that point? When does it become? When does he have to leave the council? I mean, can he? Well, the thing is, I'm wondering if he could finish out this year, even if he moves in the process. But what are the rules about moving and leaving the city? Is that immediately off the council?
Yeah, he must be a resident of the city. So once is no longer a resident of the city.
Yeah, I don't think I would be as effective either, because I'm going to be very busy when I start, because there's a lot of stuff I have to do here too, like construction wise. But at any rate, to piggyback off what you said though, this is a really good opportunity because the election is coming up. So if you don't like it, you don't have to run. So at least you can try it for a few months. And if you like it, then you run like I did. I mean, you can't ask for a better deal.
Well said.
Thank you.
I'm not sure what to do with all this. Jack is volunteering Dave to stay on the council, and all sorts of things are happening. But it is a good opportunity, and we are all responsible for trying to find someone who wants to run. So just putting it out there. And when you do run into Tom at the store or on one of the trails, make sure you let Mr. Davies know that he was a great addition to this council for the second time. Apparently he was on, not apparently, I know he was on before. And so, and we need to fill a planning commission. There's a lot of work in this little tiny town. There's a lot of work to do. That's some really important and really satisfying work. So we really want to put that out there. So at this point, we will look towards that vacancy announcement to go out in all the forms of media that we have access to. And thank you for putting this together, Gabe, in the packet about when everybody's term is and what the process is. So it's on us to fill this position. At this point, we will, and this is an interesting, this last one, that's discussion decision regarding commissioner assignments. I think because of the nature of a lot of flux happening right now, I think instead of making sure everything is filled, I'd like to kind of think a little bit more short term. And are there particular assignments that need to be filled right away, and others that we can kind of wait and see when we have a new council in 6 months? So at this point, looking at the packet again, the last page of the packet, anywhere where Representative Klumpus was filling the primary role, those are the committees that need to be filled. Waste Management Authority, I don't believe it's meeting. Gateway Committee meets, I believe, quarterly. The next meeting, if I'm not mistaken, is March or April. The Visitors Bureau, again, I don't believe that was meeting. Gaming Benefits Committee wasn't meeting. And Water Advisory Committee is now the council, really, in terms of the activities on that. So really what we're looking for, I believe, is the Gateway Committee, the Trinidad Gateway Committee.
And it meets on January 20th, the next
Oh.
meeting.
So January 20th. At this point, does anybody have an interest in joining the Gateway Committee? Let's put it out there first. I've wanted to join the committee, but have always been busy, but I see, Becky, your hand is up. What can I do for you?
So I was just going to say that the Gateway Committee will be discussing their sort of strategic plan for the next 5 years at this meeting in January. So it would be a great meeting to have a council member there.
Okay, that's good to know. So January 20th is really a critical meeting for this Gateway Committee as they kind of enter the next phase. Ms. Kelly, did I see you put your hand up as interested in joining?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm fine to jump in since it was Councilmember Klompus's responsibility, unless somebody else wants to do it. I don't want to jump in and do it if there's a desire on the part of one of the other council members. I do have a bit of a calendar conflict that day, depending on when the meeting is.
Do you know when it is, Becky, the meeting?
It's 10 to 12.
Or 10 to 12?
Yeah, so that's the day that I'm on the League of Cities training for new council members. Unfortunately, luck would have it. But I could step away from that for 2 hours. So, you know.
If you have an interest, I mean, it's a great committee to be on, I understand, just in terms of multi-agency, a lot of different folks coming together. That is on the, yeah.
I'm happy to go where the need is greatest, Mayor Ladwig. So if I've attended, I think, one of their meetings before.
Okay. I think the need is great there. Like I said, it appears that is an opportunity for that group of folks to sort of think, okay, where do we head next?
Yeah,
right.
I'm happy to do that. I've looked at their strategic plan and the last meeting, the first rev. So
excellent. And due to Tom's, Mr. Davey's work schedule, he wasn't able to join many of these subcommittees. But we do have the Trinidad Trails Committee, which is in need of leadership. And really, it comes down to Jack or Cheryl in terms of taking on the leadership, even in a temporary, because I believe that the Trails Committee still has a lot of I don't know, time certain kinds of discussions to have, because we continue, like with the general plan and whatnot, to face this. And there's also quite a bit of need for the Trails Committee to figure out what to do with $20,000 that the city has earmarked in the budget to do some serious work. So Jack or Cheryl, do you?
Yeah, I was on the Trails Committee for a bit, for a minute, and Jack was the Tom's alternate. So we both have experience. I'm happy to jump back in and lead. Maybe Jack, I don't know if you want to be
either way.
my
I
partner
agree.
in crime.
I would. I'd be glad to either help lead it or help maybe share. Maybe we can share it a little bit. But I think I was interested in it, so I'll kind of stay where I am, I guess. And Cheryl, if you feel good about leading it, I'll let you. And if you feel like you'd rather sit back, let me know. But we'll both. How about that, Jack? Both of us be on it.
Let's. What I'm hearing is that, Jack, you have the consistency, and Cheryl has an interest in getting more involved. So why don't the two of you kind of put your heads together and see what the best plan is moving forward?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, Jack, it works for me if you lead and I help out either way, because I've got plenty to do.
I just want to make sure you come back, because I thought you did some excellent work on the Trails Committee. You did a great job. So I'm happy to lead it and let you keep doing what you've been doing, which is great.
Perfect. Sounds good.
And I believe that covers the vacancies that are really sort of, like I said, most time certain that I see on this. Anybody have any other thoughts on that? Are there other places where folks need to fill in? I do have my eye to the Redwood Coast Energy Authority. So David, at some point, I'd love to pick your brain on that. And it is something I have a great interest in. I don't have a ton of time, but I have a ton of interest. So at some point, I'm going to have to pick your brain on that and what the commitment is and that sort of thing.
Okay, yeah, they have really good subcommittees too. And Richard was the alternate to that. So yeah, if I leave, there's absolutely nobody now. So
Yeah.
just if somebody wants to at least take the alternate position as soon as possible. And yeah, they really tight meetings, very informative about, energy procurement and distribution in the area, which we are transitioning. I mean, our planet is transitioning. So you get a lot of cutting edge information. I love being on that.
Well, let's do this then. Let's put me as the alternate. But again, you and I can maybe meet at some point sooner than later, and I can get a little bit more, just have a discussion about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to be careful how much I take on because it's diminishing returns. But that one again is something that Trinidad is connected to pretty heavily. So at this point, I don't see any other glaring vacancies. Does anyone have any further input on that? All right, so we are adding more to our plates, really getting the most out of that $50. So thank you very much for your volunteerism. At this point, we will talk about future agenda items. So we have our circulation element on either the February or the March meeting. And do we have other topics that we need to earmark for the February meeting? Paula, I see your hand is up, but I do not see your face or your voice. There you go.
Yes. Could you address the issues in the letter that I read to you about a monthly update by PWA?
We actually, yes, we can do that. We are scheduling a meeting with PWA, GHD, city manager.
Next week.
And it's next week. So we will reconvene this discussion over the break. We put the discussion on hold and we will reconvene and have an update for you for everyone at the next council meeting, for sure.
Okay, and then there was the other issue about pending contracts that hopefully could be posted in a timely manner so the public can read them.
We can certainly look at that as part of the city manager's report the staff report. In times past, we've had Becky give us an update on contracts and whatnot. So we can certainly look to that as well as a part of our monthly staff report. Okay.
So all of these questions and ideas are in the public comments.
Yeah, thank you for submitting that by, you said you sent it to the council as an email, or it's in the packet comments?
Well, I sent it to Gabe at around 4 o'clock today for public comments. So I don't know where it has ended up.
It will get into it'll get into the comment section for this meeting for sure. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Other agenda items, counselors, that we need to be aware of, or city or Eli, that we need to have our eye on that are time sensitive? Becky, any kind of contract, any kind of grant discussions that are also kind of coming up that we need to have on the February council meeting?
I don't know of anything specific, but I would expect that there would be an update about the stormwater project. I don't know if it would be a decision item or just informational. And the water system funding process seeking funding is there's a lot going on, and so if the council would like, we could also present an update about projects and funding and the status of all that.
I think that would be great if you can, and you can either present it or you can have it in the staff report. But every time I run into you, you're applying for another grant, and I think it's critical that we appreciate the sheer volume of work that goes into each of these grants, but also the diversity of the grants for the emergency intertie, for the leaks, for the tanks, for everything. So, yeah, I think that would be very useful. And it also keeps us aware of all the different things that we've made promises to. So please do.
So I will put it in the staff report if there's no action needed from council. Otherwise, I will include it in the action agenda.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
All right, seeing no other, hands go up for future agenda items. As always, if you think of something, please don't hesitate to reach out to Eli or to one of the counselors, whatever your best form of communication. With that, I will adjourn this evening's meeting, and thank you very much for everyone attending.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.